Bunny Man, Curse of the Axe. Based on real stories. The legend reborn, a video bombs on the internet and causes Alex euphoria. With all his excitement, he starts talking about the video that his friend Tyler had shown him. I saw the video. It says that legend says that every full moon night, the Bunny Man still wanders the bridge looking for his next victims. The video ends with a high-pitched scream followed by static, the image freezing on the pale face of a man wearing a grotesque rabbit mask. More than 3 million views in just 48 hours. That's ridiculous, Emma says, rolling her eyes as she brushes a strand of red hair out of her face. How do people believe this nonsense? Alex smiles, his eyes shining with the reflection of the computer screen. That's exactly why we have to go. This video exploded out of nowhere, and the bridge is only a 2-hour drive away. And if we can prove that the legend is real, our channel will take off, Tyler exclaims, swinging his arms dramatically. In the small living room of the shared apartment, the 5 of them are gathered around a table covered in filming equipment. Mia remains silent, her fingers tracing the outline of a crystal hanging around her neck. What do you think, Mia? Noah asks, adjusting his glasses as he sets up the new 4K camera they bought especially for this expedition. There's something strange about this place, she murmurs. I can feel it even through the screen. Tyler lets out a laugh. Here comes our sensitive with her mystical vibrations. I've never been wrong before, Mia replies calmly, her dark eyes fixed on the frozen image of the Bunny Man. That's right, Alex says, closing the laptop. And that's why Bonfire Night needs our entire team. Emma, the skeptic who will keep everything in perspective. Tyler, the funny one who relieves tension. Noah, the technical genius. Mia, our connection to the other side. And I, the reckless leader who will kill us one day, Emma adds, but a smile forms at the corner of her mouth. Let's get ready, Alex says, ignoring the comment. We leave early tomorrow. The afternoon sun is starting to set when Alex's rented SUV pulls up to the small gas station in nearby Clifton, Virginia. The city is almost a postcard of rural America, with painted wooden houses and well-kept gardens. I'm gonna get some snacks, Emma announces, getting out of the car. I'm going to film some of the city for context, Noah says, grabbing his camera. Inside the convenience store, Emma selects energy drinks and snacks when she notices an elderly man watching her intently. His faded cap and white beard give him the appearance of someone who has lived there all his life. You're from that filming class, aren't you? He asks abruptly. Emma hesitates. We are working on a project, yes. It's over the bridge, isn't it? Bunny Man's bridge. It's not a question. Just a documentary about local urban legends, Emma replies cautiously. The man approaches, his breath smelling of tobacco. 3 young people have gone missing in the last 2 months. They were all filming on that bridge. Emma forces a smile. Well, thanks for the warning, but the police say they fled, but no one runs away leaving everything behind. Cars, cell phones, clothes, everything stayed. Only they disappeared. The man's eyes are wide. He's coming back, the rabbit is hunting again. Who? Emma asks despite herself. Douglas Griffin, the man who never really died. When Emma returns to the car with the snacks, she is pale. You look like you've seen a ghost, Tyler jokes. Local madman trying to scare me with stories of recent disappearances, she explains, trying to sound nonchalant. Apparently some other YouTubers went missing after visiting the bridge. Alex starts the engine. This is perfect for our introduction. Let's interview this guy. He's already gone, Emma says, looking out the window. And honestly, we'll all sleep better if we don't hear any more of that story. Mia, sitting in the back seat, closes her eyes. "He was telling the truth," she murmurs, "about the disappearances." "How would you know?" Emma questions. Mia simply clutches her crystal and doesn't respond. "Come on, guys," Alex exclaims, turning up the music. "It's going to be amazing, trust me." Dusk paints the sky in shades of red and purple as they finally reach the famous bridge. It's smaller than it looked in the photos, a concrete tunnel under an old road, surrounded by dense trees on both sides. Ancient graffiti covers the outer walls, some depicting rudimentary figures of rabbits and axes. "Perfect for our shoot," Alex says, adjusting his jacket. "Noah, set up the lights. Tyler, help with the tripods. Mia, scan the place, see if you pick up any vibrations." Emma stays behind, watching the bridge suspiciously. "This place isn't scary, it's just sad." Noah sets up the main camera while Tyler tests the audio. "We're ready in 5 minutes, boss." Mia walks slowly around the bridge entrance, her fingers lightly touching the concrete. There was suffering here, lots of screaming, lots of tears. "That's true of any place over 100 years old," Emma comments. Alex positions himself in front of the camera, practicing his introduction. "Welcome to another episode of Bonfire Night. Today we're investigating one of America's most disturbing urban legends." "Hey guys," Tyler's voice echoes from inside the tunnel. "Come see this." Inside the bridge, where the light of the setting sun barely reaches, Tyler shines his flashlight at something hanging from one of the support beams. It's a fresh rabbit carcass, still dripping with blood. "That's disgusting," Emma mutters, covering her nose. "It's recent," Noah notes, moving closer to examine it. "Like really recent. Some local trying to scare us," Alex says, but his voice shakes slightly. "Let's use it in the shoot. This is View's gold." Mia pulls away, her breathing quickening. "It's not a joke. Someone killed him as a ritual, an offering." "An offering to whom?" Tyler asks, his usual joking tone gone. "For him." "For Douglas," Mia whispers. The wind blows through the tunnel, momentarily extinguishing the lanterns. When the light returns, everyone freezes. At the end of the tunnel, the silhouette of a tall figure stands out against the twilight sky. The figure remains motionless for just a moment, tall, slender, wearing what appears to be a white jumpsuit. The head is the most disturbing part. A white rabbit mask with long ears and empty black eyes that seem to absorb all light. "It's just some idiot trying to scare us," Emma whispers, but her voice shakes. The figure tilts its head almost as if it can hear despite the distance. Then he lifts something in his right hand. The metal briefly reflects the light from the lanterns, and a "X recording?" Alex asks, his voice a strained whisper. Noah nods, the camera firmly in his hands. "All recorded." "Hey, you there," Tyler yells, taking a step forward. "Cool costume, man, wanna be in our video?" The figure begins to walk towards them. It's not a normal walk, it's almost mechanical, with abrupt movements, as if being controlled by invisible strings. "This isn't normal," Emma murmurs. "Nobody moves like that. We have to get out of here now." Mia's voice is firm, her eyes wide with terror. "Come on, it's probably just a..." Alex starts but is cut off when the figure suddenly accelerates, running towards them with inhuman speed. "Run!" Noah screams, dropping the camera. The group scatters in panic. Alex grabs Emma's arm, pulling her back towards the car. Tyler stumbles but quickly recovers, running to the opposite side of the road. Mia runs towards the forest, her hands still clutching her crystal. "Noah!" Emma shouts, looking back. "Where's Noah?" But Noah disappeared. The only thing visible is his camera lying on the tunnel floor, still recording. The rabbit figure also disappeared. They then go to the police station to tell the sheriff what happened. So let me get this straight. Sheriff Davidson sighs, rubbing his forehead. You went to the Bunny Man Bridge at night to make a YouTube video, and you saw a man dressed as a bunny with an axe who took your friend. The Clifton Police Station office is small and old-fashioned, with maps on the walls and a ceiling fan that spins slowly, barely moving the stuffy air. Exactly, Alex confirms, his voice hoarse after hours of explanations. And we have it all recorded. The sheriff looks at the laptop where the video has just played. What I see is a distant figure that could be anyone, and then you guys panicking and running. The camera drops and the recording ends. You can't deny that Noah is missing, Emma protests. Look, I understand you're worried about your friend, the sheriff says, his tone gentler now. But every year we have dozens of teenagers and young adults who come here to hunt the Bunny Man. Some take the game too far. That wasn't a joke, Mia insists. There was a freshly killed rabbit carcass hanging in the tunnel. The sheriff raises an eyebrow. Do you guys have that on video? Alex hesitates. We couldn't film this before he showed up. Convenient, the sheriff mutters. Look, I'm going to report your friend missing, but in my experience, he'll probably show up in a few hours after he thinks he's scared you guys enough. You don't understand, Tyler says, standing up. Noah wouldn't do that, and that thing wasn't human. Young man, I've seen a lot of people in bunny costumes around here. It's practically a local tradition to scare curious tourists. The sheriff closes his notebook. Go back to your hotel, rest, and call me if you don't hear from him by tomorrow morning. As they leave the police station, Emma can't contain her frustration. He doesn't believe anything we said. Obviously, Alex mutters, which means we're on our own. I'm starting to think this was all a mistake, Emma says, her voice low. What if it's all a collective hallucination? Stress? Suggestion? Mia looks directly at her. Do you really believe that? After what we saw? Emma looks away. I don't know what to believe anymore. I know where we can find answers, Alex says, determined. In the city library, there should be records, old articles about the legend. And Noah? Tyler asks. We can't just abandon it. We won't, Alex replies. But we need to know what we're up against before we go back to that bridge. We have to look for information somewhere. Let's start with the city library. Clifton Library is a 2-story Victorian building with dark oak bookshelves and tall windows that filter the morning sunlight. The librarian, a middle-aged woman with glasses dangling from a chain, observes the group suspiciously. We're looking for local files, Alex explains. Specifically, anything related to the bridge and the legend of the Bunny Man. The woman frowns. Local history section, 2nd floor. But the microfilms of the old newspapers are in the basement. On the 2nd floor, they separate to cover more material. Alex sifts through local history books. Tyler researches on an old computer. Emma examines archived newspaper clippings, and Mia walks slowly between the stacks, as if getting a feel for her surroundings. I found something, Emma calls after half an hour. She is holding a yellowed folder. Police reports from 1904 talk about the prison bus accident. And I found this, Tyler adds, showing a printout. Documented disappearances near the bridge. These aren't just urban legends. People have actually gone missing over the years. Alex leafs through a thick book. According to this, Douglas Griffin was a psychiatric patient, not an ordinary prisoner. He had delusions about being the chosen one for some kind of pagan ritual involving rabbit sacrifices. That explains the rabbit fixation, Emma observes. There's more, Alex continues. When they found his body after he was supposedly run over by the train, he was mutilated. His face was completely destroyed, but his body had strange marks, like ritual symbols cut into the skin. Marks like these? Mia asks, placing an old leather book on the table. The pages show archaic rune-like symbols intertwined with stylized rabbit designs. "Where did you find this?" Alex asks, surprised. "I was hiding behind other books," Mia replies. "As if someone didn't want you found." Emma examines the book. This appears to be a diary. The dates are from 1970 to 1972. That's when the first modern accounts of the Bunny Man began, Tyler notes. Alex turns the pages carefully. The author believed that Griffon had not actually died, but had completed some type of ritual that allowed his spirit to remain attached to the bridge. "That's absurd," Emma mutters, but her voice lacks conviction. "It's getting better," Alex says, continuing reading. According to this, every 30 years, Griffon's followers attempt to perform a ritual to bring him back completely, sacrificing 7 souls on the bridge during the full moon. "When is the next full moon?" Tyler asks. Emma checks her phone. "Tomorrow night." A heavy silence falls over the group. "Noah was the first," Mia whispers. "We need to find him before it's too late." What happened in 1904? A violent storm lashes the Virginia countryside. A prison bus slides down the muddy road and tips over into a ditch. The guards try to maintain control while the prisoners, sensing the opportunity, begin to agitate. Among them is Douglas Griffin, a thin, pale man with piercing blue eyes that never blink. Confusion ensues when one of the prisoners manages to grab a guard's gun. Shots are fired. The bus catches fire. In the confusion, Griffin escapes, staggering into the dense forest as screams of agony echo behind him. Days pass. Griffin finds shelter in a concrete structure, the newly constructed bridge that would eventually be known as the Bunny Man Bridge. Hungry and delirious, he begins hunting wild rabbits in the area, but not just to feed. When travelers pass over the bridge, Griffon watches silently. The first to disappear is a street vendor, then a young nurse cycling to visit a patient, then a couple who stop to fix their car. Authorities find only hanging rabbit carcasses, gruesome warnings of what was to come. When they finally surround Griffon, he offers no resistance. Instead, he smiles and whispers, "Too late. The ritual has begun." Before they can take him, Griffon runs onto the train tracks. The impact is devastating. But when they examine the mutilated body, they discover strange symbols cut into the skin, made before the accident, symbols that none of the investigators can decipher. The case is dropped, the bridge abandoned, and the story gradually turns into legend. But every few decades, rabbit carcasses reappear, followed by unexplained disappearances. Mia's visions. It is late afternoon when they return to the bridge, this time in daylight. The place seems less threatening with the sun shining, but a sense of unease still hangs in the air. "We shouldn't be here," Emma protests, but her curiosity overwhelms her fear. "We need to find any leads on Noah," Alex insists. And if Mia is right about the symbols, Mia walks slowly around the bridge, her fingers tracing the concrete stained by decades of graffiti and pollution. "They're here somewhere. I can feel them." Tyler and Alex survey the surrounding area, searching the bushes and trees for any signs of disturbance that might indicate where Noah was taken. "Here!" Mia calls out suddenly, her voice strangely tense. The others run to her. On the back of one of the bridge's support columns, partially covered by moss, there is a symbol carved into the stone. It's similar to the drawings in the old book, a circular shape with interlocking lines that vaguely resemble rabbit ears. It's old, Alex observes. It's not recent vandalism. Mia hesitantly reaches out her hand and touches the symbol. The instant your fingers come into contact with the carved marks, your entire body tenses. Her eyes roll back, showing only the whites, and she begins to shake violently. "Mia!" Emma screams, trying to hold her back. Fragmented images flood Mia's. Do you thin man with empty blue eyes smiling as he drags a body into the darkness under the bridge. An axe descending repeatedly. Blood spreading across dirty concrete. 7 people wearing rabbit masks standing in a circle, singing words in an unknown language. Noah tied to a post, eyes wide with terror as a rabbit-headed figure approaches, axe in hand. And finally, the bridge at night bathed in blood as something that is not quite human, emerges from the darkness, reborn. Mia comes to with an agonized scream, falling into Emma's arms. "What did you see?" Alex asks anxiously. Mia breathes heavily, sweat running down her pale face. The massacre, 1904, wasn't as we thought. Griffon wasn't run over by accident. He sacrificed himself as part of a ritual. And now, she looks at each of them, pure, terror in her eyes. Now they want to complete what he started. They? Tyler asks. Who are they? Followers, Mia whispers. People in town who kept the cult alive. And Noah. I saw Noah, he's still alive, but not for long. Where is he? Alex demands. Under the bridge, Mia replies. But not here. Another bridge. Bigger. Abandoned. Over water. Tyler takes out his phone. There's an abandoned railroad bridge about 3 miles from here. It crosses Pope's Head Creek. We need to go there, Alex decides. But first, let's get back to the hotel. We need flashlights, weapons if we can find them, anything to defend ourselves. And we should call the police, Emma insists, and say, what? Tyler argues. That our psychic friend had a vision about a cult of killer rabbit worshippers? The sheriff already thinks we're crazy. We have to go now, Mia suddenly says, grabbing Alex's arm. There is no time. The ritual begins at sundown. Back at the hotel as they prepare to head to the railroad bridge, Tyler is checking the equipment when his laptop makes a notification sound. Hey, guys, he calls, his voice strangely calm. You guys need to see this. The others gather around. The screen. A YouTube notification flashes, upload complete, help me. Neither of us posted anything, Emma says, confused. It was posted on our account, Tyler explains, clicking on the video. The screen goes black for a few seconds. Then, shakily, Noah's image appears. He's somewhere dark, his face lit only by the dim light of his camera. His eyes are red from crying. Trickle of dried blood on his forehead. If you see this, his voice shakes, don't come after me. It's a trap. They wanted you here, all of us. 7 sacrifices for the ritual. There are sounds of movement outside the frame. Noah looks nervously to the side. The legend is real, but not in the way we think. It's not just a killer, it's an entire cult. They worship something that shouldn't exist. And Griffon is just a vehicle, a receptacle for... A loud noise interrupts. The camera drops, briefly showing a rusty metal ceiling. A pale hand grabs Noah by the ankle, dragging him out of the frame as he screams. For an instant, the image captures a tall figure wearing a rabbit mask, axe in hand. The video ends. No one speaks for several seconds. Then Emma runs into the bathroom and the sound of vomiting echoes through the room. When was it posted? Alex asks, his voice barely above a whisper. 20 minutes ago, Tyler replies. So he might still be alive, Alex says, clinging to that hope. Mia is sitting on the edge of the bed, shaking. He said 7 sacrifices. I think it's no coincidence that there are 5 of us. Who would be the other 2? Emma asks, returning from the bathroom, pale. It doesn't matter, Alex says firmly. We're not going to let that happen. Let's go. Get Noah now. Tyler is staring at his computer screen, perplexed. Wait, the video, it's gaining views. Thousands of them in minutes. How is it possible? Emma asks. You're getting promoted somewhere, Tyler says, checking the traffic data. As if anyone wanted you to be seen. Or something, Mia murmurs. Alex's phone rings, an unknown number. Hello? He answers, putting it on speakerphone. Only static responds. Then a distorted, almost mechanical voice. 7 for the ritual. 1 has already been marked, 6 remaining. Come to the bridge, come see the rabbit's rebirth. The call drops. It's definitely a trap, Emma says. Yes, Alex agrees. But it's also our only chance to save Noah. The sun is setting when they arrive at the abandoned railway bridge. It's an imposing, rusty metal structure that crosses a deep creek surrounded by dense trees. The tracks were removed a long time ago, leaving only the metal frame and concrete pillars. It looks like no one's been here in years, Tyler observes as they get out of the car, carrying backpacks with flashlights, ropes, and makeshift tools that could double as weapons. We need to be careful, Alex warns. If it really is a cult, there could be several people. Or just something really dangerous, Mia mutters. They cautiously approach the bridge. Beneath the main structure, a dark opening suggests some kind of tunnel or chamber. It should be over there, Alex says, pointing. Probably an original maintenance space or equipment shed. I'll go first, Tyler offers, turning on his most powerful flashlight. The entrance is narrow, forcing them to enter, in single file. The smell is the first thing that hits them. Damp, musty, and something more organic and unpleasant. My God, Emma whispers as the flashlight light illuminates the interior. It is an underground concrete chamber, larger than it appeared from the outside. The walls are covered in the same symbols found on Bunny Man's bridge, but here they are, painted in dark red and black. In the center of the space, a circle is drawn on the floor with 7 points marked on its perimeter. What is that? Tyler asks, shining the flashlight into a corner. Piled against the wall, partially covered in dirt and debris, are bones. Human bones. This place has been used for rituals for decades, Alex realizes, the reality of the situation finally setting. Through all those people missing over the years, Emma turns away from the bones, her face contorted in horror. We need to call the police. Now! First we have to find Noah, Alex insists. Mia slowly walks around the ritual circle, her fingers occasionally touching symbols on the walls. These are ancient, pre-Christian. They have to do with rebirth and transfer of spirit. Tyler is photographing everything with his cell phone when he notices something strange. Guys, look at this. He points to a small security camera mounted discreetly in the corner of the ceiling. Someone knows we're here. We need to keep going, Alex says. There must be more tunnels. At the back of the chamber, an opening leads to a narrow corridor. They follow, the space becoming tighter and the ceiling lower as they go. Claustrophobia begins to affect them, their breathing becoming heavier, sweat pouring down their faces. Despite the cold air, I feel like we're being watched, Emma whispers. We are, Mia confirms. Not just for cameras. The tunnel suddenly forks. Both paths look identical, dark, damp, and threatening. Which way? Tyler asks. Before they can decide, a distant noise echoes through the tunnel on the right. something metallic being dragged, followed by a faint groan. "Noah!" Alex exclaims, immediately running in that direction, ignoring his own warnings about caution. The others follow, but the tunnel seems to go on endlessly, turning and forking. Within minutes, they are completely disoriented. "Alex, wait!" Emma calls. "We're getting lost." But it's too late. When they stop to catch their breath, they realize they can no longer hear Alex ahead. The silence is absolute, except for a light drip of water on the walls. "Alex," Tyler calls, his voice echoing uselessly. "We're separated," Mia says, her tone surprisingly calm. "It's what they want." A metallic sound resonates through the tunnel, followed by a muffled scream, then silence. "Alex!" Emma screams, her fear giving way to despair. "We need to get back," Tyler says. "Regroup, get help." "It's too late for that," an unfamiliar voice says from behind them. They turn around abruptly. An elderly man is standing, a few meters away. The same man from the gas station who had warned Emma. "You?" Emma exclaims. "What's going on here?" "I tried to warn you," he says with genuine regret. "It's too late now. The ritual has already begun." "Who are you?" Tyler demands. "Someone who has been watching for a long time," the old man replies. "The bridge always demands your sacrifice, but this year is special. The 30th moon after the last cycle. The complete rebirth." "Where are our friends?" Emma asks, her voice shaking. The old man points to the tunnel on the left. "Head that way if you want to find them. But be warned, what you see cannot be undone." "It's a cultist," Tyler whispers. "We can't trust him." "I'm not one of them," the man says. "I'm the only one who's tried to stop this for decades. But I've always failed." Mia takes a step forward, studying the elderly man's face. He's telling the truth, or at least what he believes to be true. The man nods. "You have until midnight. When the full moon is at its zenith, the ritual will be completed, and the rabbit will fully return to our world. Let's go," Mia says decisively, heading down the indicated tunnel. Tyler and Emma exchange uncertain looks but follow her. When they look back, the old man has disappeared into the dark. The macabre farm. The tunnel gradually widens until it leads to an exit camouflaged by dense vegetation. Emerging into the freezing night, they find themselves in a secluded clearing where a shadowy structure rises against the starry sky. An abandoned farmhouse whose broken windows resemble empty eyes watching their every move. The rotting wood creaks under the pressure of the night wind, as if the structure itself breathes slowly in the dark. "It feels like no one has been here in decades," Emma murmurs, her voice barely disguising the tremor of fear as they make their way down the weed-covered path. Moonlight reveals disturbing details around the property. Small wooden sculptures hanging from nearby trees, all in the shape of grotesquely deformed rabbits, their bodies twisted into impossible positions that suggest agony. Alex is the first to enter the house, pushing open the front door with a prolonged groan that echoes through the empty structure. The interior reveals a macabre sanctuary dedicated to obsession. Every inch of the walls is covered in symbols carefully carved into the wood, identical to those found on the bridge and in the caves. Among the symbols, black and white photographs, faded by time, show people wearing rabbit masks, gathered in a circle around a makeshift altar. "Oh my God," Tyler whispers, shining his flashlight at the images. "Some of these photographs look like they're from the 40s. Some look like they're from the 70s. This has been going on for generations." By moving the light to the center of the room, he reveals a long table that serves as a ritual altar. On it, arranged with meticulous precision, are disturbing instruments, half-melted black candles, small bones arranged in specific patterns, vials containing dark liquids, and in the center, An ancient axe whose oxidized blade still has brown stains that can only be dried blood. Mia slowly walks around the room, her fingers occasionally touching the symbols on the walls, her face growing paler by the moment. "This place was the center," she murmurs, her voice distant as if part of her was somewhere else. "The heart of the cult that worshipped what they called the rabbit that lurks between worlds. I can feel so many deaths here, so many sacrifices." She stops abruptly in front of a particularly large symbol carved into the floor, partially covered by a dusty carpet. This is the main summoning symbol, and it has recently been reactivated. Someone was here a little while ago preparing everything for tonight's ritual. Emma cautiously explores the adjacent rooms, each step making the ancient floorboards protest beneath her feet. In a small office at the back of the house, a dusty bookshelf reveals something that immediately captures your attention. A dark, leather diary, newer than the other artifacts on the property. The yellowed pages are filled with frantic handwriting that appears to have been written with increasing urgency. Some entries pressed so tightly into the paper they almost tear it. "I found something," she calls to the others who gather around her as she flips through the pages. It appears to be the diary of someone called Margaret Shaw. The oldest entries are from 1994. His voice cracks as he realizes the implication. The last attempt to perform the full ritual. As you read excerpts aloud, a disturbing narrative forms. Meticulous details about the ritual summoning of the Bunny Man spirit, or more precisely, the ancient entity that uses this form as a manifestation. Blood must be spilled at the exact intersection point where the ley lines cross under the bridge. Emma reads, her voice shaking. 7 sacrifices representing the 7-dimensional portals. Complete connection can only be established when the full moon of the 30th year reaches its zenith. She turns another page and gasps. Here's a list. Names of people who have gone missing over the years, all marked as failed attempts or incomplete sacrifices. Alex examines notes on a hand-drawn map that shows the exact location of the bridge in relation to other structures in the area. According to this, the bridge was not randomly built at that location. It was strategically positioned over an ancient power point that the Native Americans of the region considered sacred and feared. He points to notes in the margins. They believed it was a thin point between our world and something they just called the other side. "Look at this," Mia says, finding pages with detailed drawings of ritual masks and descriptions of how they serve as anchors or containers. The bunny mask is not just a disguise. It is a containment device, a vessel that allows the entity to partially exist on our plane without being destroyed by dimensional mismatch. As he speaks, a sudden shiver runs through the group, not just from fear, but a tangible physical sensation, like static electricity coursing through their bodies. So the current ritual isn't just to summon the spirit again, Emma concludes, her voice barely audible as the terrible truth sets in. It is to completely open the portal, allowing the entity to fully enter our world, using our bodies as vessels. She turns the last written page and her blood runs cold in her veins. A list of names, recently written. Potential sacrifices. 2024. At the top of the list, Noah Caldwell, Alex Foster, Emma Winters, Tyler Matthews, Mia Chen, the full names of each of them. They knew we were coming, Alex whispers, realization falling over the group like an icy blanket. That wasn't a coincidence. The viral video, the recent rumors, it was all orchestrated to specifically draw us here. A distant metallic sound freezes the blood in his veins. the unmistakable scrape of an axe against hard surface, coming from somewhere outside the house. "We need to get back to the bridge," Mia says suddenly, her face contorted into an expression of unearthly horror, as her eyes fixate on something only she can see. "Now, the ritual has begun. I can feel they have other sacrifices." The words are barely out of his mouth when a distant scream cuts through the night air. Human, agonizing, abruptly silenced. The group abandons the farm in a desperate frenzy, racing through the dark forest toward Bunnyman's bridge. The path seems to contort before them, the trees creating formations that weren't there seconds before, as if reality itself is beginning to bend under the influence of the ongoing ritual. The sky above appears darker than normal, the stars obscured by clouds that move in unnatural circular patterns, converging over the bridge area. When they finally reach the edge of the clearing surrounding the bridge, a vision of pure horror paralyzes them. The concrete structure is transformed. Glowing symbols cover every surface, emitting a sickly bluish light that pulses like an aberrant heart. More disturbing, however, are the shapes that hang from the top of the bridge, human bodies dangling like grotesque marionettes, their limbs positioned at precise angles to form a larger ritual pattern. "They're the recently missing," Emma whispers, recognizing the tourist couple mentioned by the convenience store man. A third body hangs beside them, fresher, still dripping with blood that runs down the bridge's concrete into artificial channels that feed the symbols carved into the stone. Blood does not fall naturally. It seems to flow against gravity at certain points, forming impossible patterns that hurt the eyes when trying to follow them. And under the bridge, gathered in a perfect circle, 5 figures in dark robes sing a chant in a language that seems to scratch reality itself, with each syllable pronounced. "We need to stop this," Alex mutters, his face a mask of determination despite the terror evident in his eyes. Noah could be there too, if he's still alive. The group approaches stealthily, using the vegetation as cover, trying to form some kind of desperate plan. A sudden movement to the right startles Emma, who stifles a scream as Tyler emerges from the shadows, his expression strangely calm considering the horror before them. "I finally found them," he whispers, joining the crouched group. "I've been looking for you since we got separated in the tunnels." Something about her behavior causes a tingle of warning in the back of Emma's neck, a slight mismatch in her movements, as if she's slightly out of sync with reality. "How did you escape?" Mia asks, her eyes narrowed with suspicion as she watches Tyler. There are dark stains on the sleeves of his jacket that could be mud, or something more sinister. His excessively calm demeanor is completely at odds with the chaos unfolding just a few meters away. "I found a side passage," Tyler replies, his voice strangely monotone. "You won't believe what I found down there." He leans forward, as if to share a secret, then opens the backpack he carries. "I found this before the cultists saw me." From inside the bag, he removes an object wrapped in dark fabric. With a fluid movement that looks practiced, Tyler unfolds the package, revealing an ancient axe identical in appearance to the one they saw on the farm altar. The oxidized blade glows unnaturally in the moonlight, small etched symbols reflecting a light that shouldn't be present in the darkness. "It's Griffon's original axe," he explains, a strange smile forming on his face. "The ritual weapon. With this, we can interrupt the ceremony." Emma flinches instinctively, a feeling of dread intensifying in her chest. "Tyler, why didn't you tell us about this sooner? Why did you hide something so important?" As she speaks, she notices something even more disturbing. A small mark at the base of Tyler's neck, partially visible above the collar of his shirt. the same mark they saw in ritual symbols, tattooed or cut into their skin. "I thought you guys would panic." Tyler responds, his voice changing subtly, taking on a deeper, older quality. "I didn't mean to scare you, but now I understand that we need to use the right tools for this situation." His smile widens unnaturally, stretching beyond the limits of what a human face should allow. "We all need to make sacrifices to stop this, don't we?" The trust between them shatters like thin glass when the terrible truth crystallizes. Tyler isn't trying to stop the ritual. He is part of it. How long has it been? Since they found the first rabbit carcass? Since before the trip started? Questions swirl in Emma's mind as she exchanges alarmed glances with Alex and Mia, a silent communication passing between them. They need to get away from Tyler immediately. "You're right, Tyler," Alex says cautiously, trying to stall for time as he takes a step back. "We need to use the right tools. Why don't you explain exactly how we can use this axe to stop the ritual?" As he speaks, he makes a subtle gesture for Emma and Mia to slowly back away, preparing for the inevitable moment when Tyler's facade completely crumbles. "This axe is more than just a weapon," Tyler explains, his fingers stroking the blade with unsettling familiarity. His gaze seems to change, his pupils dilating until his eyes appear almost completely black. It was forged specifically for the original ritual. The Griffon himself infused it with his blood, creating a symbiotic bond between the metal and the entity he worships. As he speaks, the atmosphere around them seems to condense, the air becoming heavy and oppressive as before a violent storm. The shadows cast by the surrounding trees appear to move independently of the moonlight, contorting into patterns that suggest grotesquely elongated hair-like forms. The sounds of the forest cease abruptly. No insects, no night birds, just an unnatural silence that presses against the ears like something tangible. "Tyler, since when have you been involved in this?" Emma asks, her voice barely disguising her terror as she continues to back away imperceptibly. His mind frantically re-examines every interaction with Tyler over the past few weeks, looking for signs he might have missed. The suggestions to visit the bridge, his unusual enthusiasm, the times he would briefly disappear during the investigation, all now taking on an eerily new meaning. "You make it sound like I betrayed you," Tyler replies, an unsettling smile distorting his familiar face into something unrecognizable. His movements become increasingly strange. Subtle spasms run through his limbs, as if his body is being controlled by something that doesn't fully understand human mechanics. "But I am offering the greatest gift of all, the chance to witness something extraordinary. The chance to be part of something so much greater than our puny existences." Mia, who has remained silent watching Tyler, suddenly gasps as her sensory perception picks up something beyond what the eyes can see. "It's not Tyler," she whispers to Alex. "Not completely. Something is inside him, feeding on him, but it hasn't completely consumed him yet." As he speaks, his eyes detect a visual anomaly around Tyler's body, a subtle distortion that resembles heat rippling over hot asphalt, except the pattern occasionally suggests the silhouette of something inhuman, superimposed on his human form. "Enough talking," Tyler declares abruptly, lifting the axe in one fluid motion. The metal of the blade appears to absorb the surrounding light rather than reflecting it, creating a disturbing visual void. "You are the guests of honor tonight. The final sacrifices that will complete what began over a century ago." His voice now alternates between its normal timbre and something much deeper and more ancient, as if two entities are fighting for control of the same vocal cords. Alex makes one last desperate plea to his friend's remaining humanity. "Tyler, I know you're still in there. Remember who you are, everything we've been through together. You can fight this." But as the words leave his mouth, he realizes the futility of his plea. Tyler's eyes are now completely black, without any trace of iris or sclera, like wells of ink absorbing all light. "Tyler is exactly where he wants to be," the creature responds in a voice that no longer tries to imitate humanity. "He invited me voluntarily, dreamed about me for weeks after finding the first symbols online, researched obsessively, prayed to me on the darkest nights." One quick, inhumanly agile movement, and the creature that was Tyler lunges at them, the axe making a lethal arc through the air. "And now you will join us, in blood, in transformation, in glorious awakening." The group scatters in panic as the axe strikes a nearby tree, sinking deep into the wood, which immediately begins to blacken and rot around the point of impact. Emma runs desperately through the dense vegetation, branches and thorns scratching her face as she tries to find her way in the chaotic darkness. Behind her, a throaty laugh echoes through the trees. Not Tyler's familiar laugh, but something primal and predatory that resonates on multiple frequencies simultaneously. Alex pulls Mia away from the creature, both stumbling through the understory, as they try to avoid making noise. "We need to get to the bridge," Mia whispers breathlessly, her voice barely audible. "If the cultists complete the main ritual before we can interrupt." She didn't need to finish the thought. The implications are all too clear. The metallic sound of the axe being ripped from the tree drives them to move faster, entering deeper into the forest that seems increasingly labyrinthine. The surrounding vegetation seems to react to the presence of the entity. The trees groan and twitch, even though there is no wind. Roots partially emerge from the ground as if trying to grab the fugitives. The moon, now directly overhead, casts shadows that do not correspond to the objects that create them. Elongated silhouettes with pointed ears and disproportionate limbs that move independently. The ground itself seems to pulse like something alive. Reality beginning to fragment at the edges as the ritual on the bridge progresses. "Emma!" Alex calls out in an urgent whisper when she catches a glimpse of her friend a few feet away. She turns around, her face a mask of terror, blood oozing from small cuts on her cheeks. The three come together momentarily in a small clearing, each breath painfully audible in their exhausted lungs. "We need a plan," Alex insists, holding a broken branch as a makeshift weapon. "We can't just run away forever." A high-pitched, agonizing scream cuts through the night air some distance away. Human, but quickly transforming into something unrecognizable before being abruptly silenced. There are others in the woods, Mia realizes with horror. The cultists are hunting. As he speaks, the air in front of him seems to ripple and distort, briefly forming a face made of shadows and foliage. The rabbit mask, watching them for a moment before dissipating. The bridge, Emma decides, her fear giving way to desperate determination. This is where it all started. This must be where we can end this. In silent agreement, the group changes direction, trying to circle the area to approach the bridge from the opposite side. Each step is agonizing. The ground now seems to actively resist their movements, as if they are walking through quicksand. The earth itself trying to keep them trapped in place. As they approach the bridge, the distortion of reality visibly intensifies. The air shimmers with bluish, luminous particles that hover in hypnotic patterns. Distant sounds of chanting become audible, intertwined voices speaking words that seem to tear at the very fabric of reality. And then, emerging from the shadows, in front of them, a lone figure blocks their path. Tyler, or what's left of him, his posture inhumanly rigid, his face contorted into a smile that stretches literally from ear to ear. "What a lovely reunion," the creature says, its voice now completely alien, reverberating as if speaking from multiple throats simultaneously. The prey voluntarily returning to the predator. The axe in his hand pulses with sickly bluish light, tiny bolts of electricity coursing through the rusty blade. "Tyler was always the weakest of you, the most insecure, the most easily seduced by the promise of knowledge and power. All it took was showing him a few secrets, and he opened his mind. To me, and then his body." Emma, using what little courage she has left, directly confronts the creature. "What are you really? Not the spirit of Douglas Griffin. Not the bunny man of urban legends. The one trying to enter our world?" His voice shakes but remains steady, his eyes fixed on the distorted figure that was once his friend. Behind her, Alex tries to discreetly circle the clearing, looking for any opening to attack. The creature tilts its head at an impossible angle, Tyler's neck bending like paper. "I am older than names, older than the words you use to categorize existence." As he speaks, his form seems to momentarily blur, like an out-of-focus photograph, briefly revealing something behind the human mask, something composed of impossible angles and geometries that hurt the mind when trying to understand them. "The natives called me he who lurks between worlds. The colonizers reduced me to a horror tale about a man with a rabbit's head. But I am the one who exists in the cracks of reality, peering through the cracks." Without warning, the creature advances with supernatural speed, the axe descending in a deadly arc. Alex throws himself to the side, the metal just grazing his arm. But even this minimal contact causes excruciating pain that spreads like poison through his veins. Mia screams, not in fear, but in a strange and ancient language, the words springing instinctively from some ancient knowledge awakened by her sensitivity. For a moment, the creature hesitates as if the words had hurt it. Emma takes advantage of the momentary distraction to pick up a sharp rock and attack Tyler, aiming not to kill him, but to incapacitate him. The stone cuts deeply into his arm, but instead of blood, a viscous black substance oozes from the wound, something that moves with apparent consciousness of its own, trying to return to the host body. "Run!" Emma screams, stepping back as the creature turns on her with renewed fury. Its eyes now completely empty, two black holes in a human face that seems to continually melt and reconfigure itself. The trio flee again, now directly toward the bridge, knowing they are rushing to the epicenter of the horror, but with no other choice. Behind them, the creature that was Tyler lets out a roar that could not have been produced by human vocal cords, a primordial sound that makes the earth itself tremble. The hunt intensifies, the shadows of the forest taking on a life of their own to join the chase, as the axe slices through the night air with deadly precision. Emerging from the forest, the group finally reaches the edge of the clearing surrounding the bridge. The sight that greets them transcends the limits of understandable horror. The concrete structure now partially floats, disconnected from the earth, while the reality around it folds like fabric stretched to the breaking point. The cultists have formed a perfect circle under the bridge, their bodies writhing in rhythmic spasms as they continue the chant in unison. In the center, a female figure, Margaret, the leader, raises a ritual dagger over a makeshift altar, where a human form is tied. "Noah," Alex whispers as he recognizes his missing friend, still alive but clearly drugged or in a trance, his glassy eyes fixed on the night sky. Above them, the full moon appears impossibly large and distorted, its silvery disk mottled with shadows that move like tiny creatures across its surface. The base of the bridge is covered in glowing symbols, each pulsing with its own light, as the blood of previous sacrifices flows in impossible, gravity-defying patterns. Emma, with shaking hands, removes her cell phone from her pocket. "We need to document this," she whispers, activating the video function. "If we don't survive, someone needs to know." The device captures the bizarre scene: the partially suspended bridge, the cultists in a trance, the hanging bodies of previous victims now emitting a bluish luminescence as if they had been transformed into conduits of supernatural energy. The D portal is almost open, Mia observes in horror, her sensitive eyes perceiving what others only intuit, a literal rift beginning to form in the very air above the bridge, through which something is trying to emerge. It is not visible in the conventional sense, but its presence manifests as a distortion of reality itself. Colors inverting, sounds becoming tangible, sensations transforming into metallic flavors in the mouth. If the last sacrifice is completed, there will be no way to close it again. Alex frantically scans the area, looking for any way to interrupt the ritual. "We need a distraction," he decides, picking up rocks from the ground. "I'll lure the cultists away while you try to free Noah." Before Emma can protest, he's already moving, circling the perimeter to approach from the opposite side. The plan is desperate, almost suicidal, but it is the only hope they have. Emma continues filming as she and Mia sneak through the shadows, trying to get closer to the central altar. Her hands shake violently, making the images shaky, but the cell phone captures disturbing moments. Margaret's face briefly transforming into something non-human as she raises the ritual dagger. The eyes of the cultists, completely black and empty. The dimensional rift above, where impossible shapes seem to writhe, trying to pass through. Alex's distraction works momentarily. Several rocks hit the cultists, briefly interrupting the chanting. Margaret shouts orders, and two cult members immediately split up to investigate. Emma and Mia take the opportunity to move towards the altar, but when they are just a few feet away, a familiar voice sounds behind them. "How touching," the creature that was Tyler says, his voice now completely devoid of any humanity. Trying to save his doomed friend. The axe in his hand pulses violently, the blade now transparent like sick crystal, revealing within it a vortex of solid darkness. Emma spins quickly, capturing the creature on camera, and the device records what human eyes cannot fully process. It is no longer Tyler there, but something wearing his skin like an ill-fitting garment, the reality around him distorting as if his mere presence is an affront to the laws of physics. "Don't try to look directly at him," Mia warns, her own sensitive vision allowing her to sense danger. Its true form can destroy human sanity. She tries to position herself between Emma and the creature, reciting words of protection in a language she has never studied, but which springs instinctively from some ancestral knowledge awakened by extreme danger. Emma steps back, still filming, terror permeating every cell in her body as the creature slowly advances towards them. At the same time, screams erupt from across the clearing. Alex has been discovered and is now being dragged into the circle by cultists with supernatural strength. Margaret, interrupted at the critical moment of the ritual, turns her attention to the new prisoner. "The sacrifice comes to us willingly," she announces, her voice echoing with unnatural reverberation. The portal recognizes the offering. Emma, torn between helping Alex and fleeing the advancing creature, does the only thing she can, continues, documenting, her cell phone capturing horrors no human mind should ever witness. "If anyone finds this video," she narrates breathlessly, "the legend of the Bunny Man is real, but not as we thought. It's not a crazy man with an axe. It's something Much worse, something ancient that uses our reality as a playground. His words are interrupted when the creature that was Tyler suddenly accelerates, moving with unearthly speed. In a desperate move, Mia pushes Emma to the side, taking the full impact of the creature. The cell phone drops, still recording, capturing. The moment the entity's pale, distorted hand grabs Mia by the neck, lifting her off the ground. The battery flashes a critical warning as Emma screams, trying to retrieve the device. The last image before the screen fades to black is terrifying. It's no longer Tyler's face visible behind the bunny mask, but something completely alien. An impossible geometry of eyes and teeth and voids that shouldn't exist in our dimension. 2 weeks later, Clifton's small police station is abuzz with unusual activity. FBI agents and forensic experts occupy every available inch of space, maps and photographs covering the walls as an unprecedented investigation unfolds. At the center of the chaos, Sheriff Davidson appears to have aged a decade in just a few days. Deep circles under his eyes as he confronts the horror he has so long pretended didn't exist. "We found no bodies," he explains to the federal agent leading the operation, his voice hoarse with exhaustion. "Just broken camera equipment, bloodstains that don't match any normal wound pattern, and ritual settings that no one can identify." He hesitates before adding, "And old William Carver found dead on the bridge, heart literally ripped out of his chest, with no sign of how the assailant overcame an armed man with so much experience." "What about the missing young people?" the agent asks, consulting his notes. "Alex Foster, Emma Winters, Noah Caldwell, Mia Chen, and Tyler Matthews. Any sign of them?" "Nothing conclusive," the sheriff replies, avoiding eye contact. He doesn't mention the nightmares that have plagued him since the investigation began. Vivid dreams where 5 young men with completely black eyes watch him from the bridge, calling him to join them in the moonlight. He doesn't mention how, on his nightly prowls, he occasionally glimpses familiar silhouettes in the shadows of the forest surrounding the town, always with heads that appear strangely elongated, like rabbit ears. On a separate table, a forensic technician works on the damaged cell phone recovered from the scene. "I managed to recover parts of the last video," she announces, drawing everyone's attention in the room. The device is connected to a larger monitor, and those present gather to watch. The recording is fragmented, distorted by static interference and physical damage. Emma appears briefly, her face contorted in terror as she frantically narrates. Most of the audio is incomprehensible, only audible fragments. Not human. Something very ancient, using the bridge as a portal. The footage occasionally shows flashes of the bridge, now inexplicably deformed, partially floating above its foundation. Entranced cultists, glowing symbols, and for a fleeting moment, something that makes several officers instinctively look away. A form only partially captured by the lens, as if the camera itself resisted recording it completely. Something that uses Tyler's appearance as an ill-fitting disguise, briefly revealing an underlying reality that defies comprehension. "Obviously fabricated," one of the agents comments after a long silence. "Special effects, probably part of some horror movie project." But his voice lacks conviction, and no one in the room can explain the visceral feeling of dread that the brief footage evokes, as if the video itself was somehow tainted. "We have the bridge area sealed off," the sheriff reports. "Public access is prohibited indefinitely." What he doesn't mention is how the workers who installed the barriers and warning signs reported unsettling anomalies. Electronic equipment inexplicably failing, dead animals found in unnatural configurations, and the persistent feeling of being watched by something hidden in the concrete of the structure itself. Weeks later, the investigation officially cools down. The 5 young men are listed as missing under mysterious circumstances in federal records. The press loses interest after authorities refuse to provide concrete details. Life in Clifton is trying to return to normal, although locals now avoid the bridge area completely, even during the day. Whispered stories circulate about strange sounds at night, the metallic scrape of an axe against concrete, distorted laughter that doesn't sound quite human. On the internet, however, something unsettling is beginning to manifest itself. The recovered video of Emma, leaked by some anonymous employee at the police station, goes viral on obscure forums dedicated to the paranormal. Conspiracy theories flourish, and inevitably, curious new people begin planning expeditions to the infamous bridge. Hashtags like Bunnyman is real and Clyphon Bridge Truth gain traction on social media platforms. A month after the disappearances, a local teenager passing near the isolated area of the bridge finds something disturbing hidden among the vegetation. A small video camera, apparently recently placed. When authorities analyze its contents, they find only a brief recording. The bridge at night, filmed from a low angle. The concrete seems to subtly pulse like something alive breathing. In the last seconds of the video, a figure quickly crosses the frame. Tall, thin, with what initially appears to be a rabbit mask. But when analyzing frame by frame, the investigators discover something deeply disturbing. It is not a person wearing a mask, but something whose head is literally hair, perfectly fused to a humanoid body. And for a fleeting moment, the creature looks directly into the camera, its pitch-black eyes reflecting an ancient, evil intelligence. Even more disturbing, analyzing the background of the recording, technicians identify 5 figures silently, observing from a distance. Their contours are unmistakably those of the missing young people, but their shapes appear slightly distorted, elongated into subtly the wrong proportions. Their faces, partially visible in the low resolution, feature identical, impossibly wide smiles that appear to literally stretch from ear to ear. The legend of the Bunnyman hasn't just survived, it's evolved. And as the moon rises again in the Virginia night sky, something moves in the shadows beneath the bridge. Something that is not quite rabbit, not quite human, but an abomination born of the space between realities. The axe drags silently against the concrete, patient, waiting. The portal is ajar, and this time, there are new servants spreading their influence, attracting more curious people, more sacrifices. In a hotel room hundreds of miles away, a young YouTuber watches with fascination the viral video of the Bunnyman Bridge. He doesn't notice the subtle distortion that begins to affect his computer screen, nor does he notice how the shadows in his room seem to lengthen unnaturally. In his dreams that night, he will hear the call, the invitation to visit Clifton and discover the truth for himself. And like so many before him, he won't be able to resist. The cycle continues, the bridge awaits, and the rabbit is always hungry.